Hey guys. So today I realized that I haven't really properly introduced me or my reading taste yet on this channel, so I wanted to make a video of my favorite books of all time. Some of the books that I just like don't go a day without thinking about. These books hold a very special place in my heart. I put them above all else. I wish they would be buried with me when I die. That's the vibe I'm going for. Okay, I'm gonna start off strong. If you don't know, I am a very big mood reader. I read across all genres, but I mainly lean towards like fantasy and sci-fi. But with that being said, I don't discriminate against genres. Anyway, I'm gonna start with the books that I feel like when I think about my favorites, it's just the first ones that come to mind. I think they're like my brand. Like whenever someone comes up to me and asks what my favorite book is, these are the books I'm gonna give, which is The Poppy War by R. Kwong. These books will die with me. I said it, like I want these books buried with me. I feel like everyone knows what these books are about, but if you don't, it's basically following our main character as she what does she do? Our main character basically attends a school where she connects with a fire god, and things just kind of hit the fan after that. But I can't even describe what happens in these books because so much is packed into it. It's just an epic fantasy with like war politics and great friendships and awesome plot lines, and they are pretty much my favorite books to ever exist. I read these books last year in like the span of like 3 weeks, and it was probably my favorite 3 weeks of my life. So I feel like of all these 3 books, my favorite is The Dragon Republic, which is the second book, which is so weird because with most trilogies the second book is the one that's like the worst. I say opposite for this one. This one is so good, especially like the last like 100 pages. Just expect pain. In a similar but also not similar vein, I'm going to introduce my next one, which is the Jasmine Throne series. There's only 2 out so far. There's still going to be one more that comes out eventually. I don't know when. These books are a piece of my heart. Like, also the most stunning covers I've ever seen in my life. I have these like displayed on my bookshelf because I love these so much. The first book follows a girl named Priya. She's like a servant in her kingdom, and there is a banished princess who she has to like be a maid for. I love the magic system in this book. I also love the vibes and the plot, and it's sapphic, so what else do you need to know? I am anxiously awaiting the 3rd book. I need it in my hands right now. Oh, this is another book series where I think the 2nd book is so strong in a different way than the 1st book. This book had a certain type of vibes that go with it, but this book was so very good, but it was completely different to me. I don't know, I still loved it though. This couldn't be a favorites video if I didn't bring up Legendborn. This book was defining for me when I first read it. Look at the tabs. Like, I was so invested in this book, and it's done so much for me. I read it for the first time last summer. Dang, it's only been summer. Yeah, I read it for the first time last summer, and I reread it this like spring when I read Bloodmark. Also, Bloodmark should be here. I just didn't want to take it out, but I love that book too. I think it's also very, very strong. But this book is so special to me. I love our main character in this book. The twist, it's so quick too. Like, it's the most fast-paced book ever. It follows Bree, and she is 16, but she's like in this college program where it's like early acceptance, and she kind of joins like this secret society. Yeah, it follows like King Arthur and like the Round Table type of vibes, but also it has really cool elements of like traditional like black magic. Oh, it's so good. I completely annotated this too, and I love flipping through it and seeing it. I think everyone on this earth has read this book, but if you haven't, pick it up immediately. It's so good. I totally recommend. Okay, this one, moving out of the fantasy more into the sci-fi. This book I actually only read this summer, and it's like become one of my favorites. I think about it so often, and it is A Memory Called Empire. I think it feels like it was written by me. It feels like, you know how sometimes like something is so a part of you that it feels like you're put into it? That's this book for me. Does that make sense? I'm not even making sense. It's way too early for me to be doing this, but I also tabbed this one and annotated it. It follows our main character, who is like appointed an ambassador for her like home station, and she goes to the main empire, and she is just like an advocate for her station. But her old ambassador, the one that she's like preceding, had died like way early, and it was some foul play. So she kind of figures out what's happening with that, and it's not a spoiler because it happens like at the very beginning of the book, but they put like this little chip into the new ambassador's head where it's like a part of the old ambassador, and so they kind of know what's happening within the empire before they get there, and they have like a person who tells them all the stuff that they need to know and what they need to do. And I love that part. Like, it has its own little voice and it's so fun to read, and I just ate this book up. It's also super cool because I am a linguistics major, and this book deals so heavily with the like language system of the empire, which is so different, and like it's just so cool. I can't describe it because it's that awesome, but I want to reread it. Like, just like flipping through, I just want to pick it up again, but I can't. I have to get through more stuff. Okay, I think we're done with like fantasy sci-fi. So okay, next book is After Dark by Haruki Murakami. I feel like this is kind of a shocker for people who don't know me, but I like to read Murakami sometimes. Actually, this whole shelf on my bookstand is just my Murakami books that I have physically, and with him it's very hit or miss. I think he's a great author, but some of the stuff he writes about is just you know. But After Dark, I think, is the perfect essence of his writing in a great world, and it just demonstrates his writing very well. The whole novel takes place within like a couple hours in one night, and it follows kind of just like our main characters, and I can't even describe it. It's just very atmospheric. It's very Murakami, where it just has like, it's very mundane life, but there's just something off about it constantly, which I love that feeling, where it's just like you can't tell what's wrong, but you can feel it. And I think he does so well with his writing to like demonstrate that atmosphere. I think if you want to give Murakami a try and just don't know where to start, this book is very like accessible. It's very short compared to the rest of his novels, and I think it's such a quick read. I read this on a flight back from Iceland, and it took me like just a couple hours to get through, so super fun, love it, recommend. Next is another book that I just read this year, just a couple nights ago, and it blew me away. I kind of just picked it up because I heard some like whispers about it, but I couldn't remember what I heard about it, and I saw it in the bookstore, and I'm like, oh, I do love this cover, and let's just give it a try. And I'm so glad I did. It's Nightcrawling, and this book changed my life. I say that about all these books, but this book is really eye-opening. I remember like when I wrote my Goodreads review, all I wrote was like, this book makes me feel so small, and it really does. This book is about a young girl, I think she's 17 or 18 at the beginning of the book, and she has to make a living. Like, she's providing for her brother and like another person that she cares about, and she has no way of like having an income besides like her work. She just has to make more money by like doing like night work or night crawling, and it turns into a really big thing which involves the police, and it's just a crazy book. It's so well written. Like, the prose in this book is insane, like very like poetic writing throughout the entire book, and it just like is so beautiful. It like made me cry. I was sobbing over this book actually, and I think about this book all the time. I think it's so incredible, and it's this author's like debut novel, which I respect so much. I say pick it up. It's beautiful. I think everyone should read it. I think it's very eye-opening. I love this one. Next is another book where I feel like I always say this book should be like taught in school, but it's Parable of the Sower. This book is like a sci-fi too. It's about this girl and she lives in a neighborhood that has like a fence in it. Like all United States is just like post-apocalyptic type of thing, but like people are in the streets fighting each other, people die and murder and all this other terrible stuff. It's complete chaos. The government doesn't do anything. Like there's no power in the government, and so people just do whatever they want. And so our main character like lives in this fenced neighborhood where she's protected, and it kind of just like shows her life from being, I think she starts off as like 15 and it shows like the few years into her adulthood, and it's just beautiful. I love, it's written in like diary entries, which I also love, and it's just a great book. It's quick, it's like a classic to me. I feel like I'm saying the same stuff for like all these books where I'm like, oh, it's so good, I love it, but like I do, and I really can't express my emotions in any other way besides saying it like that. You just have to take my word. You have to pick up all these books that I'm showing you and then read them all, and then you'll understand, but especially this one. Okay, so when I say these books are my favorite, they don't directly correlate to the star ratings I gave them. All these books in my head are 5 stars, but like on paper when I rate them on like Goodreads, I don't always give them 5 stars. And these books are an example of it. These books are my favorites, but I think they're terrible and most people shouldn't pick them up because most people won't enjoy them. And also like they're just a lot. If you know, you know, but it's the All for the Game trilogy. These, I don't even want to talk about them because they're that bad, but they are like one of my favorite books of all time, so I have to. If you don't know, this trilogy follows a boy who is running away from his like mafia dad and joins an imaginary sports team. It's that's the only way I can describe it, but it's probably like, it's so fun, it's so easy to get through. I read these the first time my senior year of high school in like a week. Like I just read them, I couldn't put them down, and I reread them every year. You'll probably see me reading them soon because I haven't read them this year, but I wouldn't recommend them. If you do end up picking them up, please check trigger warnings. Be aware to read these not critically because they have very many faults, very many real faults too, but you will enjoy them probably. I enjoyed them. I continue to enjoy them. You will see. Anyway, that's all I have for today. These are my favorites. I hope you know my reading taste a little bit more, and I hope you like it. I don't know, I hope you have some recommendations too. Let me know your favorites if you have some. Like I said, I read everything, but my favorites tend to be more fantasy sci-fi based. So if you have like favorites of like romance or anything else, like give me some. I want to read more. So yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.